Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to completely strip away the Hollywood myths and dive right into the fascinating, ancient reality of shamanic shapeshifting. If you've ever thought this practice was just about turning into a literal wolf under a full moon, you are definitely in for a profound paradigm shift.
Listen to this actual account from a modern practitioner. They said, "When the toad spirit wore my body, I found that I couldn't walk or oppose my thumbs and that I salivated copiously." I mean, just imagine that for a second. Imagine experiencing the world so deeply through an animal's perspective that your physical body literally begins to react, salivating and temporarily losing the ability to use your very human thumbs. This sets the stage for the intense psychological and physiological reality of what we're actually talking about today.
Section 1. The Art of Shapeshifting, Moving Beyond Hollywood Monsters. Okay, let's redefine exactly what shapeshifting means in a shamanic context. Because to really understand this, we have to throw out the cinematic tropes of physical monsters and look at indigenous knowledge. The absolutely crucial point here is that this practice is rarely about a literal physical metamorphosis. Instead, it's a profound perspective shift. You see, researchers of Amazonian cultures have noted that indigenous shamans operate on the premise that all living persons, whether they're human or animal, view themselves as human. The shapes we see out in nature, they're essentially just masks. So the ultimate power a shaman is looking for isn't to suddenly grow fur and fangs, it's to alter their perception so completely that they can see the world exactly as a jaguar sees it.
So let's break down the myth versus the reality here. The myth, of course, is that physical metamorphosis pop culture absolutely loves. But the reality? It's energetic shifting. This involves temporarily reshaping your energy body and merging your consciousness with a spirit ally or a power animal. It is an internal, deeply psychological and energetic transformation, not a biological one.
To actually achieve this state, shamans use what are basically physical anchors. We're talking about ceremonial animal skins, intricately carved masks, and specific costumes. And these aren't just for decoration or theatrical flair, right? Along with postural mimicking, like physically moving exactly like a bear or a raven, these items serve as vital tools. They help the shaman transcend their limiting human condition and truly step into, or incarnate, that animal spirit.
Section 2. Why do shamans shapeshift? The purpose behind the trance.
Now, you might be wondering, why go through all this? Why would anyone willingly undergo such a massive disruption of their own consciousness? Well, historically, this absolutely wasn't done for fun or simple curiosity. It was quite literally a matter of survival. Shamans shapeshift to borrow power or enlivening spiritual energy. For instance, they might need the stamina of a wolf for a difficult hunt or the perspective of an eagle to navigate the spirit realm and find a lost soul. Ultimately, the shaman's job is to act as a mediator between humanity and the forces of nature, making sure the community stays in harmony with their environment.
If you are struggling to imagine how this actually feels, think about it like method acting. The shamanic technique of invocation is incredibly similar to what the acting world calls overshadowing. It's like an actor becoming so deeply lost in a character that they suddenly manifest talents, maybe singing with perfect pitch or dancing flawlessly, that they actually do not possess in their everyday life. The consciousness of the role temporarily takes over the driver's seat.
Section 3. Techniques for altering consciousness, inducing the shift.
Let's look at the actual mechanics here. How does this build from a simple intention into a full-blown altered state? Well, while the mystical elements are profound, the actual shape-shifting rituals follow a highly structured set of steps. It usually kicks off with setting a conducive scene and putting on those physical anchors we talked about earlier. Then comes the vocalization, chanting or making the literal sounds of the animal. After that, the shift itself happens. But the final step, banishing and returning, is absolutely critical. If a shaman travels into the spirit world and doesn't fully unmerge to return to ordinary human awareness, well, the entire purpose of the journey is basically forfeited. To actually force the human brain into these altered states, practitioners rely on intensely physical methods. While plant medicines are sometimes used, the induction usually relies heavily on sensory overload or sensory deprivation. We're talking about repetitive, rhythmic drumming, intense and prolonged dancing until you are completely exhausted, fasting, or even extreme sleeplessness. As a general rule of thumb in shamanic practice, the more intensely physical the method of induction, the more intense and real the trance experience becomes. Section 4. The energy body and risks. The dangers of the deep trance.
Now, stepping outside of your human consciousness and reshaping your energy body carries very real risks. This is not a game. The goal of a conscious shift is a super delicate balance. In fact, there's this fantastic description from a practitioner who says, integrating the non-human animal mind with your everyday human mind is exactly like adjusting the hot and cold water in a shower. You are tweaking the dials to blend the two minds until it's just the right level of warm. You want to gain the animal's power, but you can't let its pure instincts completely overwhelm your human rationality.
So what happens if you get the balance wrong or if you hold that shape for way too long? If a practitioner deliberately maintains this altered energy body for more than a day, for example, it causes severe issues. The brain basically short circuits. It experiences massive cognitive dissonance from receiving conflicting human and animal signals, which leads to deep psychological angst. And amazingly, the altered energy body can even start to pull on your actual physical flesh. This can cause real joint malformations, severe muscle spasms, and tendon distortions. So yeah, this is very advanced, dangerous territory.
Section 5. Shape-shifting in the modern world. Ancient tools for contemporary minds.
You might be thinking this is all just ancient history relegated to isolated jungles, right? Actually, no. There is a direct line from ancient survival right into modern psychology. While hunter-gatherers use these techniques for tribal healing or hunting rituals, today we see elements of shapeshifting in totally unexpected places. Sports psychologists routinely tell athletes to pick a power animal and visualize themselves as that creature during warm-ups just to borrow its strength. It's also used in deep psychotherapy, and even by Therians, individuals who internally identify as non-human animals, to integrate these personas into their everyday lives.
Here is a mind-blowing modern application from one of our sources. A woman actually utilized the intense emotional arousal of her own severe spider phobia to merge with a spider spirit. By using her absolute terror to propel her into a deep trance, she actively cultivated the spider as her power animal. And by experiencing the world from the spider's perspective, really understanding it from the inside out, she completely cured her phobia. No way, right? It's absolutely fascinating.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer, and I want to leave you with this thought to carry with you. If you could step out of your human ego just for a moment and borrowed the perspective of any animal to change the way you view your own life, which one would you choose? Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.